So thank you again for coming on. One of the first things I just wanted to ask is, are you surprised by how big this has gotten? Because the number one like debate online is people are saying which is the best Batman movie, this or The Dark Knight, and that's already just like a huge, compliment. Is this? Did you expect it to be so widely beloved right away?
When I I think my biggest question was like, and also kind of mirrors my own point of view as as Martinez as the character. It was like, well, what are people going to think of this iteration of Batman? Because it all really rides on, like, so much of it rides on the storytelling and the script and the shooting, but like it's called Batman, right? So we're there for him. And I was a witness to how hard of a worker he was and how humble he is. And so I expected him to have a landslide reaction. But of course, I was a little worried. There's a lot of trolls, there's a lot of haters, and who knows how the
Right.
final product was going to come out. But when I saw the first screening, I thought to myself, I was like, "Yo, Matt Reeves, my man Robert, Dylan Clark, they snapped off. They did a great job." And I feel like I'm generally kind of a tough critic, but I just I felt moved by how big the project was, and I felt kind of reminded of a different era of cinema, which then kind of, like, I don't know, like, regardless of how of any other feeling, I thought it was just like the ambitious nature of the project is really inspiring. So I'm happy for the results that it's had. I think everybody spent a lot of time really anxious to see how it was going to be received, because it's got a lot of really big ideas.
It does, and the whole cast is phenomenal. There really wasn't a weak link in there, and for characters like this, characters that are so well known and that have a fan base that can be so at times toxic, so specific about what they want. Everybody just nailed everything. How did you come to be involved? How did you get started in the process with the Batman?
So I mean, I've got the kind of a classic story. It's like, I was waiting tables, bartending at night. I was actually a janitor at my acting school as well. So I was working as a janitor for my acting teacher. Then I was taking an acting class, going to an audition, then going to my part-time job. That's kind of how my days were. Now, over time, over some of those years, I grew a relationship with this casting director, who is an esteemed casting director in New York, named Cindy Tolan, and she was casting a couple of different projects, but one specifically that I almost got one of the leads in was West Side Story.
Oh,
And then right after, maybe say 2 years later, I got a call when I was down in Virginia working on The Walking Dead. And when I was down there, she calls me. She's like, "Hey, I got this audition. They're looking for like a young, kind of like tenacious guy to play a cop. I think you'd be perfect." Blah blah blah. But mind you, I was already signed on to do a play in New York. So I originally said, I was like, "Nah, because I didn't even know it was for Batman. I thought it was like for a crime movie. So I was just kind of like, no,
right.
I can't audition. I got to do my play. I'm gonna come back from Walking Dead, whatever." They call back and they're like, "No, it's like, it's for the Batman. You should really audition." So I sent I sent my audition in. I had maybe 10 minutes to learn it and 10 minutes to do it in between Marine training sessions we were doing and shooting. And 2 days later, I get a call, man, and they're like, "Hey, Matt Reeves saw your tape. He thinks you're perfect. We're gonna have to pull you out of the play. You got to get back from Virginia because, like, you're gonna roll out to the UK to go shoot." So I asked Warner Brothers if because the role pops up in so many scenes, but in between I wasn't shooting anything. So I asked them before I left, "Can I stay in the UK in between the shoot days?" They said yes. So I rolled out and, I mean, essentially moved, came back,
Right.
came back from COVID, and then we started testing and we went back again that summer, August, September, and it's a very, very, very creative set. From the beginning, Matt wanted me to grow a mustache because I didn't audition with a mustache, and we were kind of thinking about how would I fit best in the universe, and it's like I wanted to kind of look like Gordon, and they already had Gordon mocked up to have a mustache, so I was kind of like, "Hey, man, what do you think? What do you think if I grew a fat mustache?" And he was like, "Do you think you can?" And I was like, "I think I can." He was like, "Then I want you to." So that was kind of our first. That was our first little note. And then once I came on set, it was like, I don't know, like Batman, Robert slash Bruce Wayne slash Batman walked up on me at the door, and I don't know what came over me. I was just pissed off. I put a hand on him, and that from there kind of marked the territory for Martinez. And I felt like Matt was really open to all my creative ideas, and then we like really collaborated on like, for him, I think like his vision of what Martinez represents, like in Gotham, and for me, which was kind of like what like all the stuff I had worked on, and like the ambitions of being a young police officer, and trying to come up in a world like Gotham.
Right. And I love that you talk about what he represents, because clearly you have Commissioner Gordon Jeffrey Wright, who is the, just true good, perfect cop. Him and Batman are really tight. And I loved their relationship in this movie because they like trusted each other and nobody else. But you represent like the good that can be, because so much of Gotham PD in this movie is corrupt and
Of
Batman
course.
doesn't know who to trust. And then you, like you said, you put your hand on his chest when he walks up, which I thought was awesome. Like, you were just like, you shouldn't be here. This is a crime scene. You're doing what
Yeah.
you should be doing as, a young cop. And I loved the role. And so, talking about the mustache, that was all natural, no filler, no liner, no nothing.
All natural, no filler, no
Awesome.
liner. They tried to make a prosthetic of it, like just in case I had to shave my face or something, or if like something happened, and it was like too fat to make right.
Yeah.
Like it was like too thick, like towards the
Right.
front. I can grow facial hair so fast, it's crazy.
Yeah. That was impressive. I don't know if you're allowed to talk about this, but I wanted to ask, there's a Gotham PD spinoff coming. Are you involved in that?
I have no idea, but I've been asked a couple times today specifically,
Of
and
course.
I said the same thing every time. I'm like, man, I am definitely waiting by the phone. I'm hoping, but then also, it's like in this kind of thing, what I'm working on the role without the expectations of anything. I'm just hitting it as hard as I can in the moment. But after I saw the movie, then that's kind of when I was like, well, my hope and aspiration would be to, and like the honor would be to continue with the universe in whatever way they would see fit, just because it's unique, and it's a really fun acting opportunity, and it's a beautiful world they built. I mean, it's really, Matt's out of control. Matt Dillon, Robert,
Yeah.
Greg Fraser, they're crazy. Like they're really out of control, and they're really hard workers. So no, I can't say yes that I don't know really anything. But
Right.
I think they're the kind of I think they're pretty cryptic, and they keep their things secret. As far the furthest I've seen is that I uncovered. I don't know if you saw, there's like a website that you could go look, and there's like a Riddler's.
Oh yeah,
Um,
like Ratalata or something like that.
yeah. So I uncovered that, and it leads to a comic book. So I ordered a couple of the comic books it leads to. So I'm going to do some deeper research.
Oh, awesome. Now I'll probably get crucified from all the Batman fans, but Officer Martinez, he's an original character, right? He's not from the comics.
Original character.
That's what I thought. Um, how was the set like with unfolding? Was it? I know you said Matt Reeves had gave you a lot of freedom, and he was very open to your ideas. Was it kind of evolving on set? Were there a lot of changes on set? Because there were a couple things that they hinted. I thought they were hinting at doing like a Hush storyline or a Court of Owls at times. I don't know if there was ever a plan to include them, and things kind of shifted.
Things from the finals, like once I read the final script, I would say they stay pretty sane to it. A couple things did change. I know I was added in a couple moments. People lost a couple moments or were added in certain moments, but for the most part, from shooting to end, we stayed at what they had established in the January pre-COVID. Um, I do think, like with anything, like performances were edited and based off of what happened. So
Right.
I do feel like because everybody went so hard, the movie's really strongly an ensemble flick in that sense. So if there's like I did when I was reading it, I didn't see it as much as like when I saw it. I was like, wow, this is a really big ensemble movie. There's a big world of characters that they're introducing to then take into the future. When I'd read the script, that didn't stick out to me as much. So I feel like that definitely was one of the things that happened. But
Yeah.
I could say from being there, everybody was going as hard as they could. You know, like Peter Sarsgaard was going hard, Jeffrey Wright was going hard. Like these
Hmm.
guys, they knew the weight on their shoulders. They knew they had the love for acting. I mean, Paul Dano. We don't even have to talk about it. They just
Yeah.
they worked hard, and it really shows.
Were you ever on set with Colin Farrell when he was in all his makeup? I want to know, did it look that
Yeah,
good and that convincing in person?
yeah,
That's awesome.
yes,
How
it
long did it
did.
take him to get in that?
I think I heard once 8 hours.
Oh my goodness.
But
That's wild.
and then they had like pieces that they would put on, and yeah, it's pretty crazy. And it's not like he's obviously not in any way that size or that
Right.
or look like that. It's like you just saw. I'm sure you saw pictures of him at the premiere, and like he's a strapping lad.
Right. Yeah. And
So
like you said, this being an ensemble movie, it definitely is. And one of the, I think, critiques that people had or worries that they had from the start is that there were so many characters, because we've seen in other movies where adding that many characters or multiple villains,
of course.
things kind of fall apart. But here, yeah, even with 3 hours, it felt like every character had the right amount of screen time. Every character was handled perfectly, and it all intertwined within this, mystery that the Riddler was unraveling, and it was all just handled so perfectly. Do you have like a favorite moment or favorite memory or something from filming?
I when the Riddler's arrest was like it was kind of we had this is my first movie, and it was like my first scenes. I was like, I was freaking deep down. And on the
Yeah.
outside, I'm putting on this front like I'm ready to take him, like I'm ready to take him or something. But on the inside, I'm freaking. And so like
Right.
by the time I got to the Riddler, though, like something had kind of changed inside of me, and part of it was I think is like when I came in, I busted. It's like I bust it. They decide, they want me to throw him down on the counter, and like we practiced the stunt a couple times. I've done a lot of stunt training, have a lot of stunt experience, so I was ready to do the stunt myself. And the stunt double, he's like, Paul's double. He says, "Hey man, it's like you can hit me as hard as you want. Like, let's do this thing." So on the first tryout, I cracked the dude's head over the diner, and the
Oh,
glasses like
nice.
snap, glasses like snapped in half.
Yeah.
I think they had to
was
match later for Paul.
was that the scene that was used in the movie?
I think so. I think so because like I when I was watching it, I was like, "Whoa, man!" I was like, "It's like that's a hard snap on this
Yeah.
dude's head." Like, and the reason it's just such a good memory for me is because like, dude, there was I mean, this is just sick. So like Roberts in his bat suit, kind of doing his thing. He's like really serious. There's like rain falling, like fake rain falling from from like the subway tracks above, and Robert's kind of standing there like, just being Batman. Rain
Right.
falling on him, like oh, he was like in his scenes, really serious. And Paul's doing his thing, sitting at the diner, being, him, being the Riddler,
Yeah.
and he's not really out of character, so I think he's in it. um but I'm standing there and nobody really knows who I am, and like I know I'm Officer Martinez. It's like people are asking me already. They're like, are you a character that's like going to continue or not or whatever? So it's like these cops were getting more and more excited asking me questions, but they were kind of hyping me up. So it's like there was like 50
Yeah.
or there was like 50, yeah, there's like 50 characters, and as the arrest kept going, they would hype me up more and more and more and more. So it's like I was slamming this dude's head harder and harder and harder, man. It's like it was like things. It was a euphoric moment because then when I'm walking out with the Riddler, it's like I don't know. I put in a lot of work into all those little moments. So it felt like
Yeah.
I don't know, the same way it felt like I don't know. Best way to explain is like for me as Martinez the cop, it felt like I finally got like a moment to like a moment to be, you know, a moment to be the man, you know, a moment to do right by Gotham, a moment to
Yeah,
protect the citizens, like a moment to kind of show up Batman, like, you know what I'm saying?
right.
Like, because
Yeah,
at the
that's
end of the day,
awesome.
that's kind of the root of the character for me is that like I'm like, yo, like if we can do it, I don't know why we're letting Batman roll around here. And
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know like I said, that was just like a great moment. It was the set is so realistic that I really, really, I mean, I look back on it and I'm like, yeah, I'm a cop, like,
Right.
because like
Yeah.
it was so realistic, you know, and like we had real, we were using real weapons on set, so I'm carrying a real Glock, and I've done a lot of Glock training too, so it's like my imagination was going crazy, you know, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm just looking in at this moment, and the cameras are all on you, you know, and you're just like I don't know. It's like I as the character was like, dude, someone's documenting my first big arrest. This is crazy.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. It was just awesome, and all the cops were all the fellow cops like they were just like they were really they were inviting me to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were
Do you
hyping it
have
up. They were like, let's go,
That's
get that
awesome.
Riddler.
It looked great, so it worked.
Yeah, yeah. They were really hyping it up. Like
So, do you have any law enforcement in your family, or did you meet with any cops or anything to
um
kind of figure things out?
So my mom's family is all military. Um, so I definitely have that legit in my blood. And then there is a police officer in my periphery who I was able to be mentored by and collaborate with essentially on all my weapons training. Um, I did a series of weapon training. I did Glock training, M4 training, and did just basically built a backstory that I built a little bit of a military backstory for him as a police officer.
Right.
That being a police officer is kind of a continuation of a career in the armed vocations.
Awesome. Well, Gil, thank you so much for finding the time to talk to us. I
I
really
appreciate you
enjoyed the
guys so much.
insight. Yeah, man, it was awesome, and I hope to see you in many more things, dude. You're awesome.
I hope so too, man. Thank you guys. I appreciate it very much, Preston.
Yeah. All right, man. We'll talk to you later. See
All
ya.
right.